Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome back to Robot Boy. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at how procedural cities could potentially work in No Man's Sky, as I hope that they might be added with the new No Man's Sky Next update coming this summer. So if you don't know by now, acclaimed video game designer Sam Swain was hired to work with Hello Games last year after the Atlas Rises update released. Now, what's so important about this one guy in particular? Well, he specializes in procedural generation, specifically in structural and architectural procedural generation, so basically buildings, dungeons, and even cities. Now, this guy obviously could potentially just be helping Hello Games refine their existing engine for landscaping and just general nature generation as they currently have in the game, which I'm sure is what is happening anyway. Either way you go about it, I'm sure that's what's going to happen. However, in addition to this, with such a huge arsenal of knowledge and tools at his disposal, he's kind of developing his own engine. Swain could easily be working on ways to introduce and simulate more advanced, more complex, and more functional procedural structures in No Man's Sky Next. As much as we all want city planets, I'm thinking like the one demoed by RSI for Star Citizen. I think it was either earlier this year or end of last year. Unfortunately, I don't think this is something we will see in the near future or even at all for No Man's Sky. And the reason being for that is, unlike Star Citizen, which does happen to have levels of procedural generation working in it, No Man's Sky is 100% procedurally generated. Every planet, everywhere, it's all 100% procedural generation. On the other hand, the city planets in Star Citizen, albeit generated by some sort of algorithm initially, are in the end uniquely designed and edited after the initial generation. No Man's Sky, as we all know, is 100% randomly generated, meaning that there is no input from Hello Games once the algorithm and the update goes live and the universe is updated. Generating complex cities is tough, but that is not the reason I think we won't see city planets in No Man's Sky. I don't put it past Hello Games to be able to figure out how to do that. No, the reason is that I think it's just simply too taxing on the hardware. I'm going to take an example from Far Cry 5, which is what I've been playing a lot lately, especially the Far Cry 5 editor. It's limited to a certain amount of memory usage across all platforms, so the PS4, the Xbox, and the PC. It's the same memory usage you're allowed to use for the editor for a map, despite the fact that obviously a PC could build a map with far greater memory usage than a console. Now, Ubisoft did this in order to keep it a level and an even playing field across all platforms. And this is obviously frustrating if you're a PC player, but at the same time, you still have to have a usable amount of memory to work with in the first place. So although you're limited on PC, you're not limited too much. You can obviously still make a level. They're giving you enough to make a level. But in comparison to the consoles, there's obviously a difference. Now, No Man's Sky is actually an incredibly taxing game to run. Despite the game only being about 12 gigabytes in size, and that's with 3 updates put into it, it's, which is crazy considering there's an entire universe worth of a game there. The procedural generation process requires a lot of power to seamlessly generate everything that you're seeing in real time. You're essentially witnessing an equation visualize itself in front of you when you're walking around in No Man's Sky, and your console or PC is always having to be one step ahead to figure out what it needs to do to load in the next bit of randomly generated info perfectly. I know for a fact that my PS4 Pro makes the most noise out of any game I'm playing when I'm playing No Man's Sky. It whirs away like crazy. Now imagine that process with hundreds or even thousands of buildings, props, furniture, other assets, animations to keep everything linked, people walking around. No Man's Sky might just actually explode. The disk might just set on fire, especially if you can seamlessly fly down to a planet and straight through the city. Yeah, it's going to be a lot. So what can be done to solve this issue? I'm going to get there, guys, I promise. So I have experience with 3D software and game design, nowhere near enough to qualify as an expert, so do not take what I'm saying as a literal process. I don't know if this is actually the way you could do it, but from what I know, this could be a way to limit the processing power needed to simulate it. So I think the cities could be implemented through instances, in particular putting them in huge domes or barriers. So by that, what I mean is, okay, imagine you're on a planet and a large radius of the terrain is flattened and a big dome is placed on it. I think I saw this idea from, Surviving Mars. I think that's where the cities are in domes. I think that's where I got that idea from. So from the outside you can see in, but you see a basic visualization of the city. It might not even be 100% accurate, and you're sort of just seeing a representation of it inside. Maybe it's blurred or something. To enter the city, however, you have to go through a hangar or a gate or some sort of door, any sort of door that allows for a seamless loading screen. Think of how, you travel between galaxies with, quote, no loading screen, but the warping screen is obviously a loading screen. So that same principle but applied here. You're going through a gate, you go in, and while you're in there, it's unloading what's outside and it's loading what's inside the city, or vice versa. So when you enter the city, that is all being generated for you at that time, and the rest of the planet is no longer being generated, thus diverting more power to the generation of the city and hopefully allowing for more complex structures and urban landscaping. You would be able to then explore the settlement and interact with everything, but you couldn't fly directly from out into it seamlessly like you can do from space into a planet. You could fly around it, but you'd maybe have to take your ship through the same style of loading screen. You have to bring it through a hangar. It sits there for like 10 seconds. And it's like, oh, we're just opening the gate for you, when it's secretly just loading everything. This could also make sense as well, I guess, for NPCs. You could tie it into the lore that they're doing it to protect themselves from elements, from creatures, and maybe even the Sentinels as well. Whether this is actually a feasible or genuinely real way to limit memory usage and implement cities into the game, I cannot confirm. So maybe this video was just a waste of time. However, I just thought I'd share my thoughts and ideas with you anyway, see what you think. If anyone does have any ideas about how this works in more detail, please let me know. Either way, all the signs are pointing in the right direction for a fantastic new update with much better refined procedural generation in general, for terrain, for flora, and for fauna. So whether we get cities or not, who knows, but hey, one can hope. And that's it, everyone. Please do leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. What do you think we will see with regards to improved generation in No Man's Sky? Do you think we will actually see cities in No Man's Sky next, or later down the line, or not at all? And of course, when do you think the new update will drop? As always, everyone, please give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to join me on this journey if you haven't done so already. And with that, I'll see you all in the next video.